Because this is the first time I've interviewed you, could you state your name and how I spell it?
Eric Stevens, Ericstevens.
And now, where are you coming from? I think Houston, Texas.
Houston,
is that
Texas,
right?
yeah, right.
And do you work for the city?
Well, there I was with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, so
Okay.
I worked with them for a number of years. I was first in the private sector for a number of years as a professional engineer, working for municipalities of various sizes. And then I worked with the Corps of Engineers as a manager there, and we had projects that ranged from $50,000 to, I think the largest I managed was $2.5 billion with a B. So I've learned how to manage various types of projects and working with municipalities of various sizes. And I think that the thing that I appreciate here is that we've got a lot of people that are really good about problem solving and want to work together. Obviously, one of the things that we're really facing is a budget shortfall in terms of funding. So that's one of the things that we're chasing now, is looking at funding alternatives. And we're prioritizing infrastructure improvements so that we can hit those things that are most important in terms of preserving infrastructure and prioritizing those. So one of those that kind of fell or rose to the top of the list was Griffin Road, looking at that paving project, looking at how we can improve that in terms of relieving some of the traffic issues that we have around the interchange near the hospital, near Love's.
Oh, well, yeah. So, and, as far as, what do you think some of the, because you mentioned two major hotspots, especially the bridge around Love's. I mean, that's gonna crop up eventually someday with all the semi-traffic, but where do you, from your outsider perspective, what are some of the major focal points that you'll look at in these first few years? Kind of course, you got to triage things, you know what I mean? But you mentioned transportation, but...
That's an excellent question. So one of the things that we have is we have aging infrastructure in terms of the roadways. The pavement is failing in many places, and you're seeing potholes appear. One of the things that we need to do is improve the drainage. So if you don't have good drainage, if the storm drain system isn't working adequately, then you're going to have a lot of pavement issues. And we're seeing that in some places. So one of the things I did today is I was looking at funding alternatives on the horizon for how we would study the storm drainage system and look at putting that into a model where we could look at how the flows are traveling through the system and then try to fund improvements, construction improvements to improve the storm drainage. And that will help us a lot in keeping our roadways to a high standard to be able to maintain them. Because if you don't have good drainage and you go through freeze and thaw cycles, it's just like a massive hammer breaking the concrete or the asphalt pavement. Mm-hmm. So water is our enemy in this case in terms of drainage. We have to address that. So that's one of the things that I see as very important is having a good plan for how to address the storm drainage issues.
Just to paraphrase, I mean, it just seems like you can build a $1 trillion road, but if you don't have good drainage, the road's just kind of useless. Is that a kind of good paraphrase?
Well, you can put down good pavement, and it may last for a few seasons, maybe 1 or 2 seasons, but then you're going to see the effects of that if you don't have good drainage. It's going to appear. You might have a good base and subgrade, even if their soils are good beneath the roadway, and you have water issues, it's just going to break through that. It's going to cause freeze and thaw, which is going to fatigue, load. It's going to load the roadway in a way that causes it to fail, and then you'll have settlement, you'll have potholes, because the water will be pulling material out of that base and subgrade. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things I see as an emphasis. Looking at one of the things also that came to the top of the list was sidewalks. Looking at a way to help pedestrians in high traffic areas to be able to get to the store if they can't walk, or if they choose to walk. I mean, if they don't have the ability to take a vehicle and they need to walk, then this gives them an opportunity to do so safely. We want to do that. We want to make sure that our streets are safe. So the sidewalk initiative is something we're looking at closely and prioritizing, because we have limited funds for that. And then also, I was looking at when the next funding cycle would arise, and we want to get in line for that. So UDOT has a good program for funding, or helping us to find funding for sidewalk improvements. We just want to make sure we don't miss that. So that will be coming up in the 2024 fiscal year, and we don't want to, like I said, we do not want to miss that funding cycle for sidewalk improvements.
Absolutely. Well, no, that's all I got, Nate.